Regine, and we started a conversation about the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And today, we want to tell you more about the quality education. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Regine. Thank you for the subject again, and quality education. My goodness. So let's define, first of all, what is quality and what is education?
Yeah. Yes. So it is the goal number 4 on the 17 one. Again, we are here in the framework of our projects, a part of EU, which is the Erasmus Plus funded project, which is led by in that project. And the idea is to create a series of workshops that will empower young people aged 18 to 13 about the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. A very powerful project by the United Nations, which aims by the year 2030 to eradicate most of the scourge of our times.
Absolutely. And as Regine said, this is a project as well to encourage youngsters aged between 18 to 30 to kind of, have their input into this project. It's basically us, the lead NGO of this project, giving you the floor. You know better than us, what quality education you would benefit from, you know better than us what you consider as quality education. You know better than us what you think can cause a lack of quality education, basically. So we really are giving you the floor to give us your thoughts, to give us, what can cause the lack of thereof, yes. The potential solutions, to close the gap, basically. So
let's discuss quality education, because again, it is very interesting, because we know that in many countries in the world, you have young girls that don't have access to education, because in the culture which can be patriarchal cultures, where young girls are raised to become wives. So at a certain age, they are taken away from school to become wives, housewives, to become mothers, housewives. Exactly. So cutting them away from anything that can be a personal development. The society has assigned for them a role that is necessarily what they wanted. Even it can happen also even to young boys who have are obliged to quit school because they must become the heads.
Exactly, and they must support their families. Exactly, yeah. And I think it even goes deeper than that, in my opinion, because whenever we mention the level of education of a country, really and truly, one of the first key performance indicators that are being checked is the literacy rate. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yes. What is the literacy rate of your country of origin, the country where you're being hosted at the moment, mm-hmm. Or even the country that you target, the country where you would like to live in the future. Yes. Yeah. No matter how old you are, you're still authorized to dream and obviously achieve your dreams.
Absolutely, And what does education bring into the life of people? What is an educated person? Exactly. Is it someone who speaks well, or is it someone who can stand a conversation? Is it someone who can read and write?
Is it somebody who's been to school? Is it somebody who dropped out of school? Really and truly, what is education? And how can you get the best out of it? So this is really the subject that we're touching over here.
Yes.
And society defines education most of the time as I said, the KPI indicator is one of the KPI indicators is like the literacy rate. Most of the time is what is the rate of the population that is being sent to school. Mm-hmm. I know, for example, in a lot of countries in Europe, school is mandatory.
Yes.
So age 16.
16, for example, in Malta, since
Exactly.
age 15, 16, you have to go to school.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting because, and this is really something that somehow I value, unlike our cultures in Africa, where although it is, I mean, as it is mandatory here in Europe, for example, that you have to go to school till age 16 at least. On the other hand, the system gives an alternative. School is free. So even if you don't have the financial means to support and to pay for your education, you still can use the free school, the free system.
Yeah.
Now, question would be, in your opinion, those who have lived here in Europe, is that educational system of quality? Is that what you needed? Is that what you dreamt of, basically? And I mean, unlike Africa, where I don't think school is necessary.
It is mandatory, but it's not enforced. That means you have a lot of young girls, as we just mentioned, who should be going to school, but they are not going. Because even though it is written that it is mandatory, no one enforces it. Actually, the fact that rural girls, for example, there are some areas, rural areas, where you don't even find a school.
Absolutely. And I had a friend, actually, a Nigerian one, and she told me something that really shocked me, in that sense, that obviously she came from a kind of well-off family in Nigeria, and so obviously she was, being placed at school, and in her school, every year she would witness the absence of ladies that used to be in her in her class of previous years. And the reason behind this is because their parents have put a condition, the parents of these ladies, if their results at school were not good enough, then they would be sent to forced marriages. So is that okay? Obviously not.
No, and that is what the United Nations actually is pushing for education, because what an educated person can bring to the society, the capacity of thinking, the capacity of questioning what it can be forced to you. A young girl who educated will resist a forced marriage.
Absolutely.
I mean, we all know the example of Malala Yousafzai, who was shot by the Taliban because she paid the price. But now we see that young girl who will have ended in a marriage where she will certainly have been abused. Now she's a great ambassador of all girls.
Absolutely. And interestingly enough, I would take another example. In the US, I don't think school is mandatory as such in the US, because the education system over there is not necessarily free. Actually, very far from it, to be fair with you. But let's say it is not necessarily mandatory. But how do they value, in that case, education? Okay, I can speak for some women that I spoke with living in the US that are homeschooling their kids. So basically, definitions again in Europe, I'm not sure that it's permitted in every country to homeschool your child, otherwise the state will not consider that as education. So it's kind of, again, definitions or legalese, as I was saying in a previous video. However, sometimes these women are also considered as housewives, and I know in some areas of the US, they are housewives, not necessarily, educated. When I say educated, it's scholar education, and they are being considered as house engineers. So this is the value of kind of education, even if these women did not necessarily attend the university or maybe even sometimes high school, dropouts or whatsoever. So it's like, how do we value education?
Absolutely. And how do we place ourselves into the society? Because usually education, it is level, you have the primary, you have the secondary, you have the tertiary education. So the more you study, the more you have the capacity of thinking.
Absolutely.
In our opinion, and I believe that that's also the aim of the United Nations, to give access to the knowledge of everybody. It is good to be able to read a book. it is good to be able to mention a philosopher. It's not necessarily something that will bring food on your table, but I think it is good to be able to access the internet, to be able to switch a computer,
Absolutely.
to be able to do things.
Absolutely. And
That
now
you-
you're touching something that I think is interesting. You know, we're not just talking about just education as such, but also the means around the education. You
Yeah.
know, in some countries, as I said, in the U.S., you know, if you have money, it should be fine. You know, if you have a certain amount of money, it should be fine. You know, in Africa, where it is not necessarily free, but it's like sometimes even when you have money compared to, you know, this is exactly, actually it's another interesting subject. The studies that you would do in Africa would not necessarily be recognized, you know, elsewhere in the world actually. So it's like, why is that? Probably because they don't consider it as quality education. But then where is, like, you know, where do we draw the line that this is quality and this is not quality? This is valuable and that this is not valuable, you know.
But again, yes, I mean, states have to fight, you know. States, all states in the world, I believe, I'm not, don't quote me on that, but all states are part of the United Nations of States. So that means that if the United Nations is pushing for a 2030 agenda for a quality education, that means that the means are open for all states to provide to their citizens quality education. And I wanted to read again some targets and indicators that the United Nations have drawn for the world, for the young people,
for the states recognized by that body, the United Nations. I think as of now there are like 193 states, if I'm not mistaken. Please don't quote me on that. Go and check on that. You know.
So let us read some of the targets for the quality education by the United Nations. For example, I'm just giving some of them because there are many of them. The one, it is by 2030. Ensure that all girls and boys complete free, equitable and quality primary and secondary education, leading to relevant and effective learning outcomes. That is the target one. The second one says by 2030, ensure that all girls and boys have access to quality early childhood development, care and pre-primary education so that they are ready for primary education. As you can see, they really start from the babies.
Exactly. I mean, as soon as you're born, almost, you know. And
education, it is important. Absolutely. It is definitely important. It makes you be able to speak publicly. It gives you strength. It empowers you.
There is a good point over here. Really, as we said, it almost starts as if, you know, as soon as you get out of the womb, of your mother's womb, actually. I believe there is a study, I don't know exactly from which organization, but there is a study that has proven that the first, I believe, 5 or 6 years of a child's life, actually the education that you give to that child for the first 5 to 6 years is one that, you know, would kind of shape his personality, and therefore that he would carry his entire life, you know. It's like, so, you know, it's
and that
really
is why
important
quality education is important.
Exactly. So it even starts not necessarily in schools, but also
at home. Yes. So we hope that we've given you enough elements to be interested to our project, a part of EU. We really want you to join us, to be part of it. You know, we're planning workshops. We're planning to really develop all those goals that are part of our lives.
Absolutely. And we even not just encourage youngsters, you know, to have an input. We also really highly encourage parents that have children, especially youngster children, you know,
teenagers,
you know, to give an input in this, because you know better than anybody else, you know, what type of education would suit your children. So yeah, please feel free, you know, to give us your input, your feedback. What do you think about quality education? What does it inspire to you? What is quality education to you? Whatever. And what solutions can be found, you know, to achieve a better quality education wherever you come from, wherever you are right now, and even wherever you dream to go, as I said,
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know.
We really thank you very much, and remember, this is the aim, it is to make a better world for all by the year 2030, so that we are all happy in this earth, in this planet that belongs to all of us. We all deserve to be happy.
Absolutely.
We all deserve to have access of quality life.
Absolutely. And to have a quality life, it starts with a quality education. There is nothing, So yeah, thank you very much for listening to this video. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Thank you very much for listening for this video, and then see you next time for another goal.
Thank you. Bye for now.